up on the Q30 Newscast. All that Connecticut residents need to know about the hike in electricity prices coming in July. And more across the United States regarding the recent protests on college campuses.
Coming back to campus, we have more on an event held by Quinnipiac Emergency Medical Services for EMS students to evaluate emergency situations. On a lighter note, we have how Quinnipiac recognized National Earth Day on Monday.
And details on two special guests coming to campus within the next week. Plus, a look at a local coffee shop that's bringing fun to campus.
All that and more coming up on the Q30 Newscast. Welcome to Suite 125. It's another Wednesday, another Q30 Newscast. I'm Keenan Mills. Over there's Joe Monty.
That's right, Keenan. There's nowhere else I'd rather be than sitting next to you for my final show on Newscast. From cooking classes to protests in New Haven, this is a packed 30 minutes.
Electricity prices are set to increase throughout the state of Connecticut this summer.
This will have a huge effect on students living off campus here in Hamden. Q30's Ava Crosley has more on the increase.
Connecticut residents are preparing to see, on average, an extra $30 charge on their utility bills this coming July after a 12% rate increase for electricity was approved by state regulators on April 17th. The Connecticut Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, or PURA, approved the rate increase for Eversource and United Illuminating, who together serve 80% of residential customers in Connecticut. The hike was the result of the Rate Adjustment Mechanism, or RAM, which is an annual adjustment that changes utility rates based on the cost of mandated public programs.
If you look in your electricity bill, there are 4 categories of costs, one of which is called public benefit. And that's the cost of administering roughly 15 different government programs. I think that costs the average resident over $200 per year in added costs. That should be, funded through the normal budgetary process.
These public programs include assistance initiatives like low-income discount rates, as well as clean energy subsidies, like the Millstone nuclear power plant that was purchased in 2017. Additionally, the rise in natural gas prices caused by the Russian invasion on Ukraine in early 2022 pushed legislature to pass bills that led to the mitigation of these charges. That mitigation has now swung back, causing higher prices this year.
So last year, for example, when PURA determined to extend that credit for the nuclear power plant contracts because of the spike in the cost of natural gas, that was a bit of a short-term gain that has long-term consequences. And so we got the short-term gain, but now we have to pay for the long-term consequences.
Connecticut has one of the highest electricity rates in the whole country. Consumers who already have to deal with these high rates, including Quinnipiac seniors who are looking for off-campus housing, are preparing themselves to feel the effects of this decision.
But I think that it can impact things like where I spend my money or when I decide to go out or when I go out to eat with friends. Maybe it might be something that's in the back of my head.
Reporting from the Mount Carmel campus, I'm Evangeline Crossley, Q30 News.
Earth Day was Monday, and the Students for Environmental Action celebrated deliciously. Among other events, Monday saw the group cook a free meal. Also a presentation done by Reboot Eco to reduce, refuse, and reuse. Encouragement to plant trees and other plants to help the local environment for the bigger issue at hand. The SEA just wants to get the word out and can only do this by continuing events like this.
So our mission is to create awareness on campus about sustainable initiatives and sustainable practice. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of events that we put out.
The Student Artist League hosted its annual Student Arts Festival on Sunday night. Doors to the Burkheim Court opened at 5:45. The event was hosted by 2 Quinnipiac students, and it had a variety of performers, including the Irish Dance Club, Women in Film, and the Songwriters Den. The Student Artist League also awarded 4 lucky students with the first ever SAL awards.
It's getting towards the end of the year, and you may have seen a certain reminder in your inbox. Course evaluations are out for all classes. An email was sent this past weekend for each class on a student's schedule asking for feedback on courses that were taken this past semester. Professors and departments suggest these anonymous forms to be filled out in order to make classes the best they can. These forms are due on the night of May 4th.
Quinnipiac EMS hosted an event to give EMS students a chance to learn how to deal with patients in situations under pressure. Medical professionals from around the state were here to help. Q30's Connor Core has more.
The lights, the cameras, and all the action was taking place on the CCE lawn on Saturday. This was all part of a mass casualty incident training that took place, hosted by the Quinnipiac University EMS team. In collaboration with local fire departments and local first responders, students were put to the test to best deal with chaos. Alex Baer is the captain of the EMS team and said that this event has been 2.5 years in the making. Back in October of 2023, Baer reached out to those first responders and their response was better than he ever expected.
I am elated by the turnout we got, by the response from our community partners, from internally our own members. I mean, people were just so excited.
That excitement quickly turned to disarray. Baer enjoyed all the commotion that came with the training because that is how it's going to be in the real world.
The communication, the flow, the treating of patients, just things were more seamless in the second run because we had that first experience to go, wow, this is really hard. Holy cow, I just haven't done this before.
Now, the high-pressure situations and the real-world experience application was something that the EMS students were expecting today, but when it came down to it, the chaos, which is something they couldn't even predict.
So internally, yes, I was screaming, but externally I was like, I need to keep my pose. I know what I'm supposed to do. The magnitude of the drill was a lot larger than I expected, and you can never really be sure like what's going to happen, especially with those inject cards.
Those inject cards give cues to the volunteer actors to do certain things to test the students' ability to think quickly. A big part of every first responder's job is dealing with people, both those who need medical attention, but also those who may make any job harder. Edward McCarver is a standardized patient in the School of Medicine. While his role was to create havoc, he is extremely grateful to be playing a small part in the students' training.
I just think if it helps, if what we do helps in them doing a better job, then it's worth it.
The community partners in Quinnipiac EMS alike were more than excited of how the event turned out and hope to continue their training for years to come. Reporting for Q30 News, I'm Connor Core.
Earlier tonight was the Spring QU Elevator Pitch Competition. In the piazza were 5 student finalists presenting their ideas to a panel of judges. The winners will earn money to elevate their pitched ideas. Anyone was allowed to compete, undergrad and grads, regardless of degree. The event began at 7 in the piazza in the Quinnipiac Student Center. Ideas can stretch from anything in family business to healthcare to arts and much more. It has struck that time in the evening. It's time for our first break. Still to come is the protest scene on Yale campus, as well as an update on national news.
Also, Maeve Campbell joins us in studio to take a look at politics.
Now, Joe, before we go, it has been simply beautiful lately. I've been playing a ton of golf and reading a few novels in the yard.
I gotta tell you, I love the sun.
Yeah.
I've been working on my swing as well, but you need the weather to do it. And the one and only EJ Gorman is here in studio to tell us what it's gonna look like in the next few days. EJ.
Thanks, Keenan and Joe. And yes, we'll be looking at a lot of warm weather for the rest of the week. Today, we were hit with some scattered showers with a high of 66 and a low of 42. And for the next 2 days, we'll be getting some sunny weather with a high of 57 and a low of 32 on Thursday. And on Friday, we'll be getting a high of 62 and a low of 33. And there's a lot of warm weather coming up after this break.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on, man, let's split a ride home.
Hey, hashtag, welcome to my crib tour. You're just in time for our show tonight.
Hollywood News Update is clearly better than New York Minute.
No,
the debates, it's juicy, it's gossip, it's tea.
All right, let's let them settle this. We'll go to the control room. What's up, guys?
We're just getting ready for tonight's show, which, for those who don't know, hashtag that is an e-news style entertainment news show.
It's also a great way to get the latest in all celebrity drama.
That's it for our crib tour. To see more on hashtag that, tune in at Mondays at 7 p.m. at Q30TV.com/watch.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
Welcome back to the Q30 newscast. Pro-Palestinian protests have been seen across the country, but just down the road on Yale's campus was a student-led demonstration in which over 45 students were arrested on Monday. This didn't stop the group to meet again on Tuesday. The campus has seen protests throughout the recent weeks, but this overnight encampment was the first one not to be discouraged at threats made by the school.
Yale University in New Haven was among many schools in the nation with protests throughout the last week.
Q30's Maddie Kelly has that and other stories from across the US of A. Maddie?
Thanks, Joe and Keenan. On Tuesday, Columbia University announced that classes will be remote for the rest of the school year, following the pro-Palestine protests at school alongside arrests of over 100 protesters at New York University and Yale University in the conflict between Israel and Hamas. These actions followed the arrest last week of over 100 pro-Palestinian representatives who had camped out on Columbia's green. In addition to the protests at the Ivy League schools, pro-Palestinian encampments have emerged on several other campuses, such as the University of Michigan and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Earlier this evening, U.S. Speaker Mike Johnson spoke at Columbia saying, quote, "We can't just allow this kind of hatred and anti-Semitism to flourish on our campuses, and it must be stopped in its tracks. Those who are perpetrating this violence should be arrested. I am here today, joining my colleagues in calling on President Shafiq to resign if she cannot immediately bring up order to this chaos." Pro-Palestinian protesters at Harvard University started their encampment this morning to protest against the suspension of the school's undergraduate Palestine Solidarity Committee. Campus officials have also disassembled Palestinian encampments set up earlier today by students who are demanding for the University of Southern California to divest from Israel. At around 5 p.m., law enforcement officers handcuffed at least 17 people participating in student protests at the University of Texas at Austin. At Ohio State University, 2 students on Tuesday were arrested and charged with criminal trespassing due to their pro-Palestinian demonstration on campus. Switching gears to the University of Idaho, a judge has ruled that the defense attorneys for Brian Kohberger, the man charged with the deaths of 4 University of Idaho students in November of 2022, will resume phone surveys of potential jurors in the case. Kohberger's legal team enlisted a consultant to conduct surveys among prospective jurors residing near the university regarding any information they may have encountered concerning the case. In a ruling released on Friday, the judge specified that the surveys could proceed, providing that the questions adhere to the parameters of the gag order. That's all I have for national. I'll send it back to the desk.
Well, if you're a fan of business, politics, or sports, then you won't want to miss Charlie Baker at the upcoming Critical Conversation event. Baker is the former governor of Massachusetts and the current president of the NCAA. The event will take place from 11 to noon on Monday, April 29th in CCE 101. President of Quinnipiac, Judy Olian, is set to have a discussion with Baker about his leadership experience, his work in the world of business, and more.
QU Dems are having a special guest for their last event of the year. Bill de Blasio, former New York City mayor who ran for president in 2020. De Blasio will give a short keynote speech and then an opportunity for questions by students who go to the event. Afterwards, there will be an opportunity for photos with the former mayor who held this title from 2014 to 2021. De Blasio will be on campus this Friday on CCE 101. Doors will open at 7:30 p.m. We've heard about news across the country, but let's take a trip down to D.C. for a peek into politics.
Q30's Maeve Campbell is with us to talk about the House approving foreign aid, the Biden administration's new solar plans, and more. Maeve?
Thank you, Joe and Keenan. Starting off in Washington, the Senate passed a bill with strong support from Democrats and Republicans. This will be a $95 billion aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. The package includes $60 billion for Ukraine, $26 billion for Israel, and $8 billion for the Indo-Pacific region. Alongside the foreign aid package, another bill was passed that could potentially result in a nationwide ban of TikTok. The bill will give TikTok's China-based owner, ByteDance, a year to divest from the app, or else the platform will be banned in the U.S. Congress passing this bill reflects growing concerns over the national security risks posed by the app. Moving to Manhattan, in the ongoing trial of former President Donald Trump, the testimony began from the ex-publisher of the National Enquirer. During the trial on Monday, prosecutors detailed how tabloids assisted in Trump's 2016 campaign by suppressing negative stories about him, including significant hush money payment for Stormy Daniels, who allegedly had an affair with Trump. Trump's lawyer asserted his innocence for his 34 felony counts. Prosecutors characterized the accusations as part of a political agenda orchestrated by Democrats. If convicted, Trump could face probation or up to 4 years in prison. Switching over to the White House, this week, President Biden celebrated Earth Day by launching a $1 billion climate work program. He announced a $7 billion grant in solar power under the Inflation Reduction Act and outlined plans for the American Climate Corps. The American Climate Corps is a program that will mobilize tens of thousands of Americans for conservation and eco-friendly projects nationwide. The program aims to combat climate change while providing economic opportunities. That's all I have in the world of politics. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Maeve. It's time for another break, but stay in your seats. Don't get up. We still have plenty of news.
EJ Gorman comes back for the rest of his weather forecast, and Quinnipiac students picked up some healthy tips and tricks in the kitchen.
Also, Quinnipiac students will have a chance to show off their dance moves, which I am specifically excited about. We'll see you right back here in a minute.
I can't hear you, little girl. You're gonna have to speak up.
Well, if you keep yelling, you're not going to be able to hear anything at all.
Is this a part of the show?
Can we turn the heat off? It's like an icebox in here.
I'm gonna need you guys to turn it down a little bit. I'm clearly in the middle of a show here.
A show? I thought this was a eulogy.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right?
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
If there's one thing I love, Joe, maybe a PB&J in my hammock in my yard on a nice warm day.
I'll tell you what, all this nice weather's got me considering going surfing. You know, I want to spend some time at the beach.
Yeah.
Luckily, though, I mean, obviously we need the weather to do it.
Right.
Luckily, we still have EJ Gorman to tell us what the rest of the week is looking like. EJ.
Thanks again, Keenan and Joe. Let's take a look at the weather for the rest of the week. We already took a look at Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for the week, but let's take a look at the rest of the week. We got Saturday being overcast with a high of 62 and a low of 36. We have Sunday with a little bit of rain. We got high of 71, low of 46. Monday and Tuesday, get ready to wear some sunscreen because it's going to be cloudy and sunny with a high of 78 and a low of 54 on Monday and a high of 75 and a low of 51 on Tuesday. We want to go take a look over at the map. We can see it's going to be a mixture of mid to high 50s with Torrington being 55 degrees, Danbury being 58. If you're going down to New Haven, it's going to be 56, and it being high of 59 over in Hartford. And there's going to be scattered lows of minimum 27 degrees and high of 34 degrees up in New Haven. And there's going to be 10 to 20 mile per hour wind gusts moving all the way up from the coast into inland. And guys over at the desk, do we have any plans for the warm weather this week? Let me hear it.
You know, Joe, I don't have a ton of plans, but I'm probably going to hit the course. Maybe 9 holes, maybe 18. Definitely a hot dog.
Judging by that sun and some of that nice weather, it looks like I'm hitting the beach. I'm learning how to surf.
Oh, yes,
I'll tell you
Joe.
how it goes.
Okay.
But in other news, Quinnipiac is fundraising money for the school and its programs the university has to offer. The fundraiser is called Bobcats Unite. The 48-hour campaign began today and will wrap up at the end of day tomorrow. The goal is to raise $1 million. Quinnipiac merch comes with donations above $50. To give away some of your money, you can visit qu.edu/BobcatsUnite2024.
Now, Joe, I can't cook at all. I burn toast. I barely can handle a bowl of cereal. Luckily, Chartwell's hosted a cooking class on Monday. In the Reckwell Center, Chef Peter taught a class how to prepare a salmon bowl correctly, throwing in a few veggies to keep it as nutritious as possible. That's why they call it the Wellness Center. It was open to all levels, so my clumsy self could figure it out and pick up a few tips on the way.
Sounds very delicious, Keenan. We've heard about national and political news, but what about outside of the states?
Yeah, Joe, a top Russian official was sent behind bars, and 2 Middle Eastern countries came to an agreement. Q30's Andrew Reynolds has our international update.
Thank you, Joe and Keenan. Here are the top 3 stories from this past week in international news. We'll start in Moscow. A top Russian defense official was jailed on suspicion of bribery. Deputy Defense Minister Timur Ivanov is accused of taking bribes for construction projects. He denies the charges, which could land him in prison for 15 years. Ivanov, known for his lavish lifestyle, oversaw military construction projects, including those in war-torn Mariupol. The arrest comes amid Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine and follows President Putin's recent call for an anti-corruption crackdown. This rare case of a high-level official facing corruption charges in Russia. While the Kremlin denies treason accusations, some media outlets speculate this could be a cover-up. Moving on, in a move aimed at boosting regional security, Pakistan and Iran have pledged to fight militant groups together. Both nations share a long border with Afghanistan, which they say harbors militants threatening their security. The agreement comes after a high-profile visit by Iran's president to Pakistan. They aim to create a united front against terrorism and improve border security to crack down on smuggling and other threats. This cooperation is crucial as both countries have faced attacks from militants based in Afghanistan. Pakistan blames the Pakistani Taliban, while Iran points the finger at an ISIS affiliate. The leaders also condemned the recent Israeli strike in Syria and discussed reviving a stalled gas pipeline project between their countries. Now, finally, in maybe lighter news, this morning, military horses spooked by construction noise caused chaos in central London this morning. 5 horses bolted their exercise near Buckingham Palace, throwing off riders and running through rush hour traffic. The commotion started when a loud noise from a nearby building site startled the horses. 4 soldiers were injured, but thankfully none seriously. The riderless horses then galloped through the streets, colliding with vehicles and surprising commuters. All the horses were safely captured and are being checked by vets. That is it for international news this week. Back to Keenan and Joe at the desk.
Following a new major in Hispanic and Latin American studies, Quinnipiac is hosting the Val Ramos Flamenco Ensemble to celebrate. Prepare for dancing and music because there will be a lot of it. Influenced by southern Spain, the event will give students a peek into the various cultures that influence that part of the world. You can check it out in Buckman Theater on Friday, April 26th from 7 to 8:15 p.m.
The Asian Student Alliance is hosting a night market on Thursday night. These are traditionally ways to try unique foods from different cultures, but also has an emphasis on coming together as a community. The ASA wishes to provide a phenomenal environment by serving food from all kinds of different Asian restaurants from around the area. Again, this is tomorrow night from 7 to 9 in the Center for Communications and Engineering, room 118.
It's the last commercial break of the night, but don't go anywhere. Don't close that tab out quite yet. There's still plenty of news to come on the other side of those commercials.
Gage Kilborn has everything you need to know on Quinnipiac Sports. We take a coffee break to look at a certain spot for a cup of coffee and ham. Stick with us to hear about that special cup of sunshine. We'll be right back.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
They are not going to win.
Yes, they are. They're going to win in Placid.
When's the last time they won?
Do you like debating sports with your friends?
Just because it was in 2016 doesn't mean they can't win it this season.
That's a long time ago. They're not. And all things Quinnipiac athletics.
And after that, then they're going to win at the NCAA tournament.
No, they are.
Yes,
not.
they are.
Then Bobcat Breakdown is the place for you.
Tune in every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m.
Online at Q30TV.com/watch.
We're the home for all things sports debate.
Miss the action? We've got you. Every team, every game. In-depth coverage, all the access, and of course, all the action.
No doubt about it.
In isolation, it goes backhand top shot. Scoop layup with 3 seconds remaining. He hits the game winner.
Knock, knock, who's there? Nobody. Vinny Duplessis sends it right back. This is Sports Pause. Monday nights at 9:30, only on Q30 Television.
Welcome back to an electric Q30 newscast. We are nearing the end of the show, but there's still some fun ahead.
That's right, Keenan. Men's tennis had a chance at bringing their first conference title back home, and baseball looks to stay hot. Q30's Gage Kilborn has all that and more.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen. We'll get right into the MAC championships for men's tennis. The squad came away with their first MAC title in program history. Donovan Brown scored the match-winning point to secure a 4-2 victory over their in-state rival, the Fairfield Stags. The Bobcats finished the conference season with a record of 7-1. Ayato Arakaki was named MAC Tournament MVP. The team will now wait to see who they will play in the first round in the NCAA tournament next Monday at 6. The men's lacrosse team closed out its regular season last Saturday when they went to Long Island to take on LIU. The Bobcats were down early in the game, but went on a 7-3 run to tie the game and force overtime. It was the Sharks who got the last bite as Tom Von Bargen scored the golden goal to push the Sharks past Quinnipiac. The Bobcats clinched the last seed in the MAC tournament and will travel to Manhattan to take on the Jaspers in the first round of the MAC tournament. The Jaspers beat the Bobcats in the previous meeting, winning 15-12. Finally, the baseball team has been getting hot. The team has won 6 consecutive conference games, including a 3-game sweep of Canisius last weekend. With this sweep, the Bobcats are now in 4th place in the MAC standings with a 6-6 conference record. The team has continued its hot streak as they took down Central Connecticut State in a thriller last night, winning 15-14. The Bobcats look to continue its hot streak as they take on the Manhattan Jaspers this weekend. That is all I have in sports. I'll send it back to you guys at the desk.
Keenan, there's nothing I love more than a hot cup of coffee in the morning.
I'm sure you love a cup of Joe. Joe. Q30 Sydney Weimer has more on one of Hamden's favorite coffee spots.
The Hamden area is home to a variety of quick service restaurants, but a local coffee shop just minutes away from main campus offers the perfect combination of great food, drinks, and atmosphere. Canteen Coffee and Tea, located on Whitney Avenue, has been a calming addition to the bustling neighborhood since its opening in 2023. Canteen offers a variety of food and drinks to the public, but according to owner Sarah Borden, coffee is truly what the business is known for.
Our coffee is from Barrington Coffee Roasting Company, and it's amazing. And I used to get it delivered to my house before I opened Canteen, so I decided I need to have Barrington coffee, like there's no other way, so.
Opening an environment such as Canteen to Hamden is something Borden herself shares to have personal meaning.
When my kids were, in middle school and high school, I really wanted I wish there was somewhere that I could send them out to get a sandwich or something for lunch.
Customers visiting the business are even sure to tell how Canteen is the perfect casual eatery.
I'm here with my friend Tilden, who suggested we come. It's a very nice, informal, intimate, comfortable place.
Although Canteen is certainly welcoming to those of all ages, being located in a college town, Borden was sure to keep students in mind.
Every Tuesday and Wednesday, we have a study hour, so a student discount. So it's a discount on any coffee drink, tea drink, espresso drink, or gelato.
So if you're looking for a quaint destination, perfect for getting some work done or just catching up with friends over a cup of coffee, be sure to check out this local gem. Reporting from Canteen Coffee Shop just down the street on Whitney Avenue, Sydney Weimer, Q30 News.
Thanks, Sydney. I'll have to check it out.
Me too. But now it's that time of the night where we got to start wrapping things up. Tonight marks my last time as an anchor on this show. Being a senior, these are some of my last times in the studio and on campus. I think back to when I joined this organization in the spring of 2022. COVID regulations were just starting to ease up, and I thought it would be a good way to increase my involvement on campus, since most of my classes until that point had been on Zoom. I walked into the studio knowing nobody, but got thrown into the mix faster than I could blink. I kept showing up, and I only had a few shows before I became a producer and began making news content almost every week. I remained a dedicated news member for these last couple of years, only news. Lots of faces have come and go since my time began in this show, but the current team couldn't be more hardworking or more dedicated. It's been a pleasure to work alongside these fellow producers, news members, and people from all the other shows who just show up to help. I've had a ton of fun getting to know everyone and spending countless hours with them putting together stories, sometimes just minutes before a show. As good as it is to move on and try to find a job, I'll miss my Q30 Wednesdays and all of the memories we made. Wednesday is, and always will be, the best day of the week. Thank you.
Last spring, I joined the news department. Well, let me rephrase that. Keith Savage made me join the news department. I joined as the Hamden beat reporter and went into an environment that was completely lost in. I was completely lost in, but I learned, and my first packages were horrendous, but I learned, and as the year turned into my senior go-around, I had the privilege of being a newscast producer. At the start of the year, Wednesdays weren't great, but the people inside of this room have grown into a group of journalists that can put on a hell of a news show. I'm going to miss Wednesdays in Suite 125 so much. There's something about walking in with my dunks on a BBW, seeing the beautiful eyes of Seth, yelling at Brittany, cracking a joke with Andrew, getting an update from Julia, poking fun with Patty checkbooks, shaking hands with Connor. And there's the man seated next to me. Freshman year, me and Joe were in a remote acting class together. At the end of that semester, I thought that would be the last I see of Joseph Monti. Now we have not only grown into great journalists together, but we have grown into men together. Wherever Joe lands, they are going to be incredibly lucky to have him, and I know he will make people laugh wherever he is. We're going to miss Wednesdays so much. Joining this department was the best decision I've made here at Quinnipiac, not just because of the journalist I've become or the job that I am incredibly lucky to have received because of this department, but because of the person I have become and the memories that Wednesdays in the media suite have brought. Smiles, laughs, good fun that will last a lifetime. Thank you everyone that has made this journey possible. It's truly been a blast. And I love you, Mom.